Hi, welcome to the video Create Spring Tool project using Spring Tool Suite IDE version 3 or STS 3 with me, Nam Hamin from codejava.net. Throughout this video, I will help you get started with Spring Boot development using Spring Tool Suite IDE version 3 or STS 3. You will learn how to create a Hello World Spring Boot project using STS 3. So, what is Spring Tool Suite IDE or STS for short? You know, STS is an Eclipse-based IDE which is customized for Spring application development. STS is developed by the Spring community. It is free and open source IDE. What does STS differ from Eclipse? STS provides support for Spring specific development like perspective and views tools which are designed for Spring specific development. So it helps programmers develop Spring application faster, conveniently, and follow best practices. So if you develop Spring projects, I strongly recommend you to use STS instead of Eclipse. And throughout this video, you will learn to download and install Spring Tool Suite IDE version 3, STS 3, and then you will learn how to create, develop a Spring Boot Hello World project with a REST controller and a MVC controller with Thymeleaf template. First, let's download and install STS version 3 from this URL spring.io /23/sts/o. This is my Chrome browser, spring.io /23/sts/o. This is a homepage of Spring Tool Suite downloads. You see, and you can see the latest version of STS and 3 is 3.9.11, and here I download the version for Windows operating system. I choose zip file. Create a new folder here, STS, and save. Okay, now we need to wait for a moment for the download to commit. You see here, Spring Tool Suite version 3 in zip archive file. You see, the download has completed, and so in folder. You see, this is a zip file for Spring Tool Suite IDE version 3, and it's tracked here. Okay, here we go. The files of STS. You see the STS bundle. This here, and you can see the STS version 3.9.11 here, and you can see the STS program here. So double click this file to launch Spring Tool Suite IDE. Double click, run, and you see this is the logo of That's the Spring Tool Suite IDE. Splash screen. Choose a workspace for our project. If you already use Eclipse IDE, you will see STS very familiar. Now I choose workspace for my Spring project. I create a new folder. New STS projects. Select folder. Okay, and click launch. Starting Spring Tool Suite 3. It could take a moment to load the IDE. Here we go. The Spring Tool Suite IDE version 3 STS 3. And you can see the default screen is the dashboard of Spring website. You see here. As you can see, Spring Tool Suite IDE is based on Eclipse. So if you already use Eclipse IDE, you will see Spring Tool Suite IDE is very familiar, and it provides best support for Spring application development. As you can see here, the default perspective is Spring perspective. Here you see this is the icon of a Spring perspective, and there are some views for Spring application development. Spring Explorer you see here, and the Spring Boot dashboard let programmers to manage instances of running Spring Boot applications. And in the toolbar you can see the menu to access Boot dashboard, Spring dashboard, and also in the menu you can see it is customized for Spring environment. You can see we can create a Spring starter project, Spring legacy project, import Spring getting started content, as well as other normal Java environment features. Okay, so now let's create our first Hello World Spring Boot project using Spring Tool Suite IDE. So we go to menu file, new Spring starter project. Here in this dialog, you see the service URL is the default URL of the Spring initialized tool that helps us to quickly create a Spring Boot project. Here we choose a project type Maven, Java version 8, packaging type is Java, language Java, and here we modify the group ID is net.code Java. Artifact is hello or Spring Boot. Description: hello world project for Spring Boot, and the package Java package to contain the Java code net.code Java. Okay, and click next, and in this screen you can see you can choose a Spring Boot version. Here I choose version most stable version, most latest and stable version 2.2.4, and then we can choose a starter or dependencies for our Spring Boot project version 2.2.4, and for Hello World Spring Boot project we can choose Spring Web, so you can type web here. You can see Spring Web, and click next, and click finish, and wait for the project being created. Oh, the project name is demo, so we rename the project very shortly. You can see in the progress view here, the Spring Tool Suite IDE is downloading many Java files, many dependencies for the project. This is the first time you use STS, so it will take a moment to download all the necessary files, and the next time it will be faster. Okay, and you can see the project is fully created here, and I think we should change the project name. Refactor, rename, change the project name to Hello World Spring Boot. Okay. Okay, we got a nice name for the project instead of demo. And you can see Spring Tool Suite IDE create standard directory structure for our project, and it create the Java package net.code Java with a main class is for Spring application here. Open, double click to open, and you can see this is a typical main class for Spring Boot application. Let me increase the font size of the code so you can see better. Font color, font basic, text font, edit 16. Okay, apply and close, and you can see the font is bigger, and you can see the annotation Spring Boot application here is to mark this class to start a Spring Boot application, and it does all the necessary configurations. And you can see in the project view, you can see the Maven project file here, pom.xml is automatically generated, and you can see the version you use is 1.8, and you can see the dependencies. Spring Boot starter web here, Spring Boot starter web, and all this automatically is generated by the Spring Tool Suite IDE, and you can see the Java files downloaded under the Maven dependencies here. You can see many Java files that support Spring Web development. And in the resource nrc /main/resource directory, you can see the static directory is for HTML files, image files, STS files, and the template directory is for template files like Thymeleaf template files, and the application properties is for specifying configuration for Spring Boot application. And this is a test folder for unit test. So now for a Hello World Spring Boot application, we create a static HTML file here, and the static folder, new as a, and choose HTML file here. Next, enter the file name is the default is index.html. Click finish. Here we go, and change the title to Hello World Spring Boot. If static, and write a heading for the heading 1 for the base is welcome to Spring Boot with STS Spring Boot development. Okay, and now we can run our Spring Boot our first Hello World Spring Boot application. There are two options to run. First, you can run as a normal Java application by right click here and run as Java application. And the second option is to run as a Spring Boot application. When running as a Spring Boot application, we can manage Spring Boot project via the boot dashboard here. So let me run as a normal Java application first. Java application. You can see in the console view the Spring Boot logo appears with some login information here, and you can see Tomcat started on port 8080 with context empty here, so we can access our Spring Boot application in web browser via port 8080. So I switch to Chrome browser here, and type the URL http localhost 8080 And you can see this is a default page, the home page about Spring Boot application. You can see the title is Hello World Spring Boot static, and the heading of the page is Welcome to Spring Boot Development with STS. So far so good, right? And you can see in the Spring Boot dashboard here, the Hello World Spring Boot project is not active, is gray, because we run the application as a normal Java application. We run the Spring Boot application as a normal Java application, so the Spring Boot dashboard cannot inspect to manage Spring Boot applications. So let's click here to stop the application. Terminate and move boot dashboard here. Okay, and now we have this. We try the second option to run our Spring Boot application. Run as a Spring Boot app here. Now you can see with Spring Boot app option, the console is colorized. You can see it is nicer, right? And you can see in the boot dashboard here, you can see the application Hello World Spring Boot is up and running, and the port number 8080 appear here, and we can test by right click and open web browser here to open the default page. And you can see the context menu include the command to start, restart, debug, stop the application. So I open web browser here, and it will open the internal web browser in Spring Tool Suite IDE, and you can see the message, the heading, Welcome to Spring Boot Development with STS here. So you can see with STS, it supports Spring Boot development with tools like Spring Boot dashboard, okay, and you can see the context menu of the project Spring here, and so request mappings. You can see no request mapping here. Now let's update our Spring Boot application with a REST controller for RESTful web services. So we stop the Spring Boot application, right click here and stop. You see, and the push the mod, you see the application is gray here. Now create a new class here for REST controller. New class. The class name is REST controller. Finished. And here we use annotation REST controller. REST controller to indicate that this is a Spring controller that is for RESTful web services, and we create a very simple RESTful web service method using the red mapping annotation with the URL mapping is forward slash rest, and the method that return a string. Hello rest return hello rest Spring Boot. Okay, now we start our Spring Boot application again. Now I click here and start. And using the internal web browser, we can type the URL rest here. Cannot continue. We need to use Chrome browser. I think there's some problem with the internal web browser, so I use Chrome here. And you see with Chrome, we got a response from the server hello rest Spring Boot. This is a response of the REST controller method here. Hello REST Spring Boot. Very good, right? Now let's code a second controller, which here MVC Spring MVC controller. Stop the application first. Stop and create a new class here. Now the name of the class is MVC controller. Finish. You see. And now with this normal Spring MVC controller, we just use a annotation controller, and we have a code a method public string hello, and we use annotation request mapping to map this hello method to a relative URL, which is forward slash hello, and this return a view name. For example, logical view name is home. And let's start our Spring Boot application. Restart. Sometimes the internal web browser doesn't work in the IDE, so it's better to use external web browser like Chrome. Okay, and we can test the MVC controller by append the URL / hello here, and you can see we got an error page, white label error page, status 404. It's normal because we didn't specify a template resolver, which is Thymeleaf for the project. So let me show you how to add Thymeleaf support. Stop. We add a print statement here. Going home. Right click on the project Spring, and you can see the option edit status here. and we can add more dependency, more starter options to the project. Here we add Thymeleaf. You can see here template engines Thymeleaf. Click OK, and you can see is a pom.xml file got updated with Thymeleaf support. Here you can see Spring Boot starter Thymeleaf here. And with Thymeleaf, we create the template file under the templates directory here. So create a new HTML file here as a HTML file, and the name of the file is home.html. Finish. Okay. Note that the home name is identical to the view name returned by the handler method. Here you can see return logical view name home here, and in this home file we change the title to Spring Boot STS home, and the heading one, welcome home with Spring Boot and STS. And now let me restart our Spring Boot application. Right click here, restart. To test request mapping with Thymeleaf view. In the request mapping view here, it should display the request mapping, but it doesn't. Let me try again. Spring. So request mappings. Okay, no problem. Go to Chrome browser and type the native URL is /hello, and you can see the heading one, welcome home with Spring Boot and STS, which is exactly the content of the home.html file here. And you can see in the console view it prints going home, which is a statement in the handler method of the MVC controller here, going home here. And as far as I know, sometimes some views in Spring Tool Suite IDE doesn't work like the request mapping here. You can see here. But overall, the Spring Tool Suite IDE helps develop Spring application, Spring Boot applications easily, faster, conveniently, and following best practice. So that's how to create a Spring Boot project using a Spring Tool Suite IDE version 3, STS 3. Thank you for watching.